All right, welcome back. We are now on exercise 3, sorry, class 3, exercise 8, class 3, exercise 8. And so we've gone through application, PHP, Apache. Now we're jumping back to the application to solve the original problem, right? Remember, once upon a time, we realized that we could intercept the cookie as it's going from the client back to the server and change ourselves from uh, regular user to admin user, regular user to admin user, regular user to admin user. So we could do that because we can manipulate the cookie once we have it. We can deserialize it and change it. And we decided that that approach is not workable. That approach doesn't protect us enough. So I'm going to show you how that protection still is in place. We agree that that's not sufficient because we're checking the cookie given by the customer. We're going to fake it to see that the problem is still there. And then we're going to actually fix the code and test again. Okay, so let's go very quickly. So remember, in admin interface, we put this extra check in here that the role that comes from the cookie, if it's not equal to admin user, then stop and show, dude, you're not an administrator, get out of here. Okay, so let's see if that's still the case. So we're going to log in as student. And okay, we logged in, yeah, yes. And here was the security problem that we were able to go, we were originally going to go here to admin interface. And we would have seen the admin interface. That was bad. We put this little fix in place that uses the cookie to block us. Great. Sounds like a great solution, right? No, remember we use this proxy to intercept. So yeah, we use the proxy to intercept, and we were able to um, still get to the admin, still able to get to the admin interface. So we can come here and just change this to admin user, change this one to 10 and let it rip, keep going to forward, and voila, we can still see the admin interface. Now that is not a good solution, right? Sorry, I gotta turn this off. Right, so that was not a good solution. So in other words, the solution that we had in our code is a solution, but it's not a very good one, and it's ultimately not secure. So we're going to comment it out, and instead I'm going to use this code here that I just created, and I'll walk you briefly through it. I commented up, but I enabled it. So what this code is intended to do is supposed to go to the database and get the user role from the database, which is the source of truth as far as we're concerned, the application owner, and compare and see if the user has the rights to view this page or not. If they're actually an administrator, great. If not, don't don't show it to them. So basically, we're going to create a user record. This is just the way this application works. We're going to get the username from the cookie. I mean, we have to get the username from somewhere. And we have to trust the user that, hey, this is their username. Now, whether their password works and everything else, we probably should do some more further authentication here to say, is user valid and is user actually logged in? So this probably needs to be more complicated, but at the very least, we're going to get the username from the data from the cookie. We're going to connect to the database, and we are going to get the user information from the database. And once we've got the username from the database, that user record from the database, the whole user information, that gets stored in the user record. And so from the user record, we extract the role out, stick it in the role variable, and then we check if the role variable that we just extracted from the database this time is the same as the administrator. So here we check the super cookie, Here we check the super cookie against the administrator. Here we're going to check the role that came from the database against the admin user, and only then we're going to let them go past here. If not, we're going to say incorrect role. No, 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 thank you. Bye-bye. The actual role that you have from the database is this one. The role from the cookie is this one. So you know what? No way. And see if this is more secure. By the way, in order to make this code work, since we're talking about the code, this is the code that we'll be testing in a minute. But there's a couple of other fixes you have to make in this file to make it work. Besides putting this code here, you also have to comment out this function, the connect to database, because otherwise it's going to be duplicated in two places, and that's no good. And you also have to put this include DB functions, because you're going to use a function from there. So this function, get user information from DB, is already defined. We're not going to write it again. Whatever you can think of it, whatever you want. It's good or bad, but it works. It's there. So we're just going to use it. So include DB functions, comment out this particular function here with beginning /* and */, and then comment out this cookie-based checker, and instead add this code here and save the file. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the application, and we're going to log in. We're not going to intercept anything right now, so interception is off, even though we could, and we're going to intercept in a minute, but for now we're not going to intercept. So let's log in as student and student, right? So we log in. Excellent. Now let's see if we can actually go to the admin interface and see what happens. So we try to go to the admin interface, and it says, no, you don't have the correct role. That's the die line that we put in there. It says the actual role from the database is regular user, and from the cookie it's regular user. Okay, so that basically says that the database and the cookie are in agreement. But we're now trusting this. We're not trusting the cookie anymore. So let's see if we can hack the cookie and see if this still protects us against that, because that was the problem we had before. So we're going to go here and turn on the interceptor and literally reload the page and go back to the interceptor. There's the URL, right? The request, I should say. And we're going to change, like we're going to try to hack it like we had hacked it before. So we're going to make it admin user. And we also have to change this to 10 instead of 12 and say forward. Boom. And so what just happened here? Aha, we refresh the page and it says the regular role from the database is regular user, and from the cookie it's admin user. So we're able to fake the cookie. We're able to intercept it and fake the cookie on the way in, but it doesn't matter because the code was smarter than that, and it did not depend on the cookie, but it went and checked against the database. So this is a superior method of enabling the right level of access to this particular file. All right, and that's literally all you should have to do for this exercise. I will point out one thing though. This is called admin interface.php, and this interface shows another form here, which the way this application is built is another problem, but this shows another form, and so when it's finished, it will call admin form processor.php. Do you think that that particular file can be hacked via the cookie, or can we actually go to form processor.php right now and actually get to if we could figure out how to call this particular one, we might be able to get it to, notice this has, get it to execute some of this code, because there is no, and get it to actually do, to add a user in the database, or in this particular case, because this does not even do the cookie-based checking like we had in the previous file, let alone, it has the same thing. It gets the cookie, and it says it dies if there's no cookie detected, but it doesn't check if the role from the cookie, nor does it check the role without the cookie. So it doesn't even do any of these. It doesn't do this very basic one or this more sophisticated check. So I think there's still a vulnerability left here, but we're not going to go into it. It's a little bit harder to exploit because unless you see this code, you don't know what to do about it, but still, it's not impossible. So probably this would have to also be improved to allow the protection to not actually execute any of the code until you have the right access granted and the right privilege, and you're in basically because you're an admin user, not just a regular user, not anybody else down the street. So obviously the functions, if you just define them, they don't get executed. It's like saying defining where it is, so there's no actual code that gets run, well, except for this meaningless code and this unnecessary that doesn't have any effect, this code. But the code that has effect and can make changes is the code after this line, and specifically this code. And we don't want to get to this code unless this actually has the right checks in it. But anyways, that's more detail. So hopefully that helps. That was exercise number 8.